Welcome to the Owner Identity Podcast, where we empower men experiencing same-sex attraction to live a life of purpose and possibility through the power of Christ and for the glory of God. My name is Jason Meller. I am so glad you're here. Come on in, have a seat. Let's go. Hey guys, if you've longed for a life shared with a wife, a woman to build a future with, to be known and loved by, and to love in return, this episode is for you. Together, we'll explore the deeper question beneath, am I marriage material? What does it mean to be worthy of love? How do we overcome the doubts, fears, and societal pressures that make us question our value? And most importantly, how do we step into the truth of who we are, embracing our imperfections while preparing our hearts for the kind of partnership that thrives on presence, humility, and grace? This episode is about more than just relationships. It's about rediscovering your worth, rewriting the story you tell yourself, and showing up with courage and authenticity. Let's dive in. When we ask ourselves, am I marriage material? We're not just questioning whether we're ready for a relationship. We're often questioning whether we're enough. It's a question that digs into the core of our identity, our sense of self-worth, our belief in our ability to connect, and our hope for a meaningful future. And it's not just about whether someone else will choose you. It's about whether you've chosen yourself, whether you believe that you are deserving of love, of partnership, and of the kind of life you dream of sharing with someone else. And I know the question often comes with a lot of baggage. Maybe it's the voice of past relationships or actions whispering doubts into your ear. Maybe it's the pressure of societal expectations telling you what you shouldn't be or what you should be to be worthy of love. And maybe it's your own inner critic or the enemy pointing out every mistake, every sin, every reason why you think you're not enough. And when you ask, am I marriage material? I want you to pause and ask yourself a deeper question. What story am I telling myself about my worth and my future? Because the answer to that story will shape not just how you see yourself, but how you show up in every relationship moving forward. So maybe you're in high school and you see all your friends starting to flirt with girls, obsess over crushes, and date seriously. And you're just not there. You feel awkward when a girl likes you. I did. Maybe you're afraid of physical closeness, but you still want it. That was me. You've pictured yourself with a wife. You want to be a husband, a dad, someone a woman can lean on. But when everyone else is talking about girls, you feel like an outsider. That was me again. Or maybe you're in college. Everyone's dating, you're watching your friends fall in love, get married, start families, and you feel left behind. They seem to move naturally towards women, physically, emotionally, sexually, while you feel stuck, or anxious, or completely disconnected. Maybe you have wondered, am I broken? Why hasn't this happened for me? Man, I've felt and thought all of those things. Or maybe you're well into adulthood. You've waited, you've prayed. You've gone to counseling, you've read all the books, you've tried to get healed so you could be ready for marriage. But you're still single, still uncertain, still feeling that ache in your chest. I can relate. I wanted marriage, but the uncertainty of it was draining. Perhaps you thought like I did, why would a woman want to enter into my story, my past, my confusion? What if I mess up? What if I give into temptation again or pull away emotionally and she wants sex more than I do and I can't show up? What if she overpowers me and I lose myself? Wouldn't it be safer for her just to marry a regular guy? Maybe I'm not cut out for this. And I want you to know that you're not alone in those fears. I want to say this to you. You're not disqualified. You are not too late. You're not broken beyond repair. And yes, you are marriage material. Not because you fixed yourself, not because your attractions vanished, not because you're flawless, but because of your character, because of your heart, because of your willingness to show up, because of your capacity to love that God has gifted you with, and because God is not finished with your story yet. I'd like to share a story about two kisses, one from a place of anxiety and one from a place of openness. In my mid-20s, I dated a girl named Christy. She was pretty and kind. One afternoon, after riding horses at her family ranch, we stood alone by my car. Typically not at a loss for words, she got quiet and just looked at me. I panicked. because I knew she wanted me to kiss her. My mind flashed back to my high school girlfriend, the first and last time we kissed. Her lips felt cold, clammy, and weak. I wanted to wipe my mouth off with my sleeve. I didn't feel drawn closer. I wanted to run. So, standing next to Christy, I wondered, will this kiss be different? Nope, it wasn't. And all I wanted was to escape. Man, I hated that. I wanted to want her. I wanted to feel what my friends felt when they were with girls. I wanted a girlfriend, a wife, a family. There were other reasons I didn't believe Christy was the one, but that kiss had really bothered me. But as I grew to accept myself more, I remember sitting in an SSA support group saying, I think kissing girls is gross. And I just chuckled. I was so glad that I was there in a place where I could just say that without wondering about being rejected or somebody looking at me weird. And I did believe that God could shift that in me if he wanted to, but that was a milestone for me because I said that in a way that I didn't have pressure on myself. I could desire a wife without needing my attractions to change. I took back the power I had given to my attractions, and being able to be honest and share where I was powerful for me. And after a couple of years, I met Teresa, the woman who would become my wife. She turned my head. But honestly, I wasn't sure if the rest of me would turn as well. But thankfully, she didn't feel like a test I was failing. She felt like a mystery I wanted to understand. I wanted to know her more than any other girl, and kissing her was a way of doing that. First time we kissed, we were parked in the Sonic parking lot. And honestly, it wasn't magical, but it was warm. It wasn't cold and clammy. And I was able to enjoy laughing together when she told me that I had room for improvement, and she taught me how to kiss better. I found that I had stopped obsessing over whether I was enough, and I just started showing up, curious and grounded, full of grace for me and for her. And to my surprise, desire came. Not that forced, panicked kind, but the kind born out of love, friendship, trust, safety, and choice. I want to break down this lie that says I have to be completely healed or completely straight in order to be worthy of marriage. That's just not true. Marriage isn't about perfection. It's about partnership. It's two people who say, I see your mess and I still choose you. And if you think your story is too messy, I want to ask, do you believe God can only bless something that's spotless? Because the truth is, every single marriage is made up of two broken people leaning on God's grace day by day. And some of the most beautiful, honest, powerful marriages that I've seen were not built on physical chemistry. They were built on presence, humility, emotional connection, and a shared commitment to Christ. And they were better off for it. So let me say it again. Marriage material is not about being straight enough. It's not about being temptation-free. It's not about having a picture-perfect story or being hypersexual or emotionally flawless. Being marriage material means you're brave enough to be known, you're humble enough to grow, you are resilient enough to choose love, even when it's awkward or scary, and you're anchored in God's truth, not your fears. That's what a good husband is made of. Not perfection, but presence. Not performance, but partnership. Because I used to believe that I had to be more than I was, more than God had called me or equipped me to for a time, to be of value. I didn't know how to just be. I thought I had to be more than I was for my wife, forgetting that the most important thing is to point both of us to God, who is always more than enough. So I want to walk you through 8 practical tools that can help you prepare for and build a healthy, joyful, God-centered relationship with a woman, even in the face of same-sex attraction, doubt, or fear. Number 1, shift from performance to presence. One of the most common fears I hear is this. What if things don't work in the bedroom? What if I can't satisfy her? What if I freeze up or feel nothing? Or worse, feel something I wish I didn't? And underneath that is that pressure that says you need to perform in order to prove your masculinity or earn her love or justify the marriage. But listen, intimacy is not about performing. It's about being present. I'm going to say that again. Intimacy is not about performing. It's about being present, being emotionally safe, being tender, being curious, and being available. You can cultivate closeness and desire not with some Hollywood version of sexual confidence, but with gentle, honest presence. I married my wife to know her more and to serve her. I'm always capable of doing that. When that is front of mind for me, I melt into her and everything just clicks. It's only when I get in my head or have recently masturbated or looked at porn that I clam up. So, when you feel anxious or disconnected, you can pause and ask yourself, how can I make her feel seen, loved, and cherished right now? That question redirects your focus from fear to connection. Number 2, build emotional intimacy first. If you have spent years feeling emotional connection with women isn't safe, it can feel disorienting to try to move toward a woman emotionally, let alone physically. But here's what I want you to hear. Emotional intimacy is the soil where physical connection grows. And that starts with vulnerability. Not that rushed, oversharing kind of vulnerability, but the slow, brave, thoughtful kind, where you reveal your fears, your hopes, your desires, and she does too. Number 3, challenge the story of automatic arousal. This one's big. So many guys think, because I don't feel an automatic pull toward women, I must not be cut out for marriage. If I'm not turned on the moment I hold her hand, something is wrong with me. I get that. But honestly, guys, it's a myth. It's a powerful myth, but a myth nonetheless. Arousal is not just about instinct. It's about context, safety, imagination, connection, memory, gratitude. And the reality is, many men, even those without same-sex attractions, they don't feel instant chemistry. And many others feel it only to find that it's going to fade within a year. But what does last is what's built on love, intention, and curiosity. So, begin a daily practice of intentional gratitude and emotional presence. Each day, write down one thing that you appreciate about your future wife or the girl that you're dating. Her personality, her voice, her heart, her values. You're training your mind and heart to desire what is true and beautiful, not just what is reflexive. Number 4, communicate openly with her. Not to shock, but to build trust. One of the scariest steps in this journey is the conversation. You know the one. When you tell her about your story, the things that you've wrestled with, the way your desires have worked, and your commitment to truth and growth. It can feel terrifying. But the paradox is, honesty does not sabotage trust, it builds it. While my wife and I knew of each other's same-sex attractions prior to dating, having met in an SSA support group, there were still portions of our stories that were vulnerable to share. I remember sitting across the table at a restaurant, barely touching my food, as I prepared to share the mental health issues that I had experienced. She had similar anxiety in sharing the physical experiences that she had with women over the years. She had gone farther than me and feared that it would be too far. But it wasn't. Her vulnerability drew me closer to her. And practically, know that the way you show up when sharing your story matters. If you come with shame, she's going to feel the need to carry it. But if you come with groundedness, humility, and clarity, she'll see that you are someone who's safe, self-aware, and strong. Decide that your story is an asset to your relationship rather than a liability. Let that posture set the tone for the conversation. If you are dating a girl and preparing to share with her about your same-sex attractions, consider leading with this. Say, I'd like to share something important with you because I value trust between us. I experienced same-sex attraction. For so long, I thought it meant I was uniquely flawed. But I found that walking with God and others through it has made me stronger, given me greater certainty on what I believe, and grown my courage as I've stepped forward into the life I truly desire. 5, remember, intimacy is a journey, not a destination. Let me just say, it's not all going to click on day one. You may still wrestle. You may not feel desire every time. You may have awkward moments. You may even doubt yourself in seasons. That's normal. But marriage, like all of life, is about progress, not perfection. It's about creating a life together where both of you can grow, be known, and learn the sacred rhythms of love, even when it's messy or slow or uncertain. So when dating or in marriage, set realistic expectations for yourself and her. Celebrate the small things, a great conversation, an act of trust, a new level of comfort or laughter. Remind yourself often, I don't need to arrive, I need to stay present. 6, anchor the relationship in faith, not feelings. Feelings change, desire fluctuates, but God is steady. When your relationship is anchored in Christ, everything else has a stronger foundation. Your intimacy won't just be based on how you feel that day. It'll be grounded in something greater, a shared purpose, covenant, and trust in the one who made you both. So pray together, read scripture aloud, speak truth over your relationship. Invite God to shape the pace, the connection, the desire, and the calling of the relationship. 7, let go of pressure and receive permission. The shift in my own story came when I stopped trying to prove that I was man enough, normal enough, straight enough, or good enough for marriage. I realized I didn't need to be enough. I just needed to be real. God can work with real. Let go of perfection and give yourself permission to enjoy the process. 8, this is my favorite. Replace shame, fear, and judgment with the fertile soil of curiosity, wonder, authenticity, and love. Shame, fear, and judgment, they're like weeds in the garden of a relationship. They choke off the possibility of growth, of connection, of intimacy. Why? Because those emotions close us off. They make us retreat into ourselves, build walls, and hide the parts of us that we were meant to be seen, loved, and celebrated. When shame whispers, "You're not enough," or fear says, "You'll never measure up," or judgment screams, "You'll be rejected," we stop showing up fully. And when we stop showing up, the relationship can't thrive. It's like trying to plant seeds in dry, cracked soil. Nothing can take root there. Romans 8:1 says, "There is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus." That means your past, it's covered. Your shame, it's redeemed. Your fears, they don't have the final say. You are free to pursue the life and the love that God has called you to. The good news is there's a better way. Curiosity, wonder, authenticity, and love. That's the fertile ground where relationships flourish. Curiosity says, I want to know you, to understand you, to explore who you are without assumptions or expectations. Wonder says, I am in awe of the beauty and complexity of this connection, and I'm open to discovering more. Authenticity says, I'm bringing my whole self to this relationship, my strengths, my struggles, my truth, because I trust that I'm worthy of being seen and loved as I am. And love? Love is the water, the sunlight, the nourishment that allows everything else to grow. Love says, I choose you, not because you're perfect, but because you are you. And I'm here to build something beautiful with you. When you approach a relationship with curiosity, you're not focused on what's wrong with you or the other person. You're focused on what's possible. When you bring wonder, you're not weighed down by fear or judgment. You're lifted up by the excitement of discovery. When you show up authentically, you're not hiding behind shame. You're standing in your truth. And when you lead with love, you're not holding back. You're giving freely, knowing that love is abundant and self-replenishing. So here is my challenge. What would it look like for you to let go of shame, fear, and judgment in your relationship? What would it look like to replace those with curiosity, wonder, authenticity, and love? And how might that shift open you up to discover connection and intimacy, not just with somebody else, but with yourself? Because the way you cultivate the soil of your own heart will determine the kind of relationship that you're able to grow. I reached out to many of my clients, and I wanted to get the input from them on what advice they would give to somebody that's wondering, are they marriage material? I'd like to share these with you. John says, for most husbands, sexual attraction to their wives wavers. It's just one piece of a marriage. The intimate, non-sexual friendship and connection is the place that is stronger. By being united with Christ spiritually, the strongest connection piece, the love between husband and wife, can surpass SSA. It's hard to explain, but it happens. My wife and I got engaged, and our friendship and spiritual connection kept growing. God set aside this wonderful woman as my closest companion to bring us together into this union, where he would be the third and strongest strand in the cord of our marriage. Graham says, don't wait until you are perfect to pursue marriage. All of us have shortcomings and could be considered disqualified because of sin. However, that is where Jesus Christ's redemption comes in. The closer we can draw to Christ, the healthier perspective that we're going to have regarding SSA, rather than trying to ignore it or fight it. Rick says, be completely honest about your same-sex attractions. If God is in the relationship, he will draw you closer and the sexual feelings will come. Evan says, I am really excited about my upcoming marriage, but I have also some fears. While my struggles do not define me, they are still part of my story. I believe that the parts I feel embarrassed about need the most love from my spouse, me, and God. I can take each of them to her and to God and let them bring us closer together. Ken says, be curious about your attractions. Ask, what are they telling you? Seek healing in those areas. Your woundedness is not your fault, but healing is your responsibility. And it's possible. One decision, one honest step at a time. What you are endeavoring to do shows tremendous courage and a desire to move toward healing and wholeness. The Lord will use your wife in extraordinary ways to that end. Don't miss this. And know that most men feel inadequate in some ways. You're not alone. Wes says, if you are both known and understood by each other, and there is good communication, then there's nothing that you can't tackle together. Peter says, you don't need to feel the pressure to have all the physical sensations and longings. Just take the next step and trust God with the result. You can start with an intellectual and emotional connection. That's okay. Austin says, I first approached my relationship insecurities by ignoring the fear and just doing life. But I am now convinced that the belief of disqualification is not aligned with the gospel. We are not uniquely different or irredeemable. When God looks at us, he no longer sees separation and a host of sin, but Christ. Shane says, I placed such an emphasis on sexual performance. Having had sex with women before, it just seemed far less passionate than sex with men. So my consideration of marriage was skewed because I focused on my biggest fear, sexual performance and desire. That fear held me back, and now I regret not pursuing a wife sooner. Finally, Michael says, one thing that has helped me is to realize that so many men are attracted to other guys. I'm not as unique as I thought. My advice, he says, would be to be honest and vulnerable. I made the mistake of not telling my wife about anything going on in my life. If the woman you are pursuing is the right one, I believe she'll be gracious and loving. Know that the attraction isn't going to turn off when you say, I do. I thought it would, but it doesn't. You have to do your work and actively pursue your wife instead of the men in porn. Also, I believe God has women out there that are graced for marriage with men experiencing SSA. That belief helped me when I asked myself, why would a woman want me if she could choose a man that doesn't experience same-sex attraction? So guys, you are not alone. If your heart still longs for marriage, don't write yourself off. If you've tried and failed and tried again, decide to be vulnerable enough to hope. If you've doubted your worth, feared your past, or questioned your manhood, don't believe the lies. You are loved, you are growing, and you are capable of loving and being loved. God is not embarrassed by your story. You don't need to be. He's walking with you, patiently, tenderly, powerfully, into a future that you can't yet imagine. So lean in and keep on going. But before we close, I want to name something really important. I know there's a risk in talking about marriage this way. Some might say I'm getting your hopes up too much, that for a lot of guys who experience same-sex attraction, marriage to a woman just isn't likely. And talking like this might lead to disappointment or disillusionment. I hear that. I've walked with guys who've prayed for years and are still waiting. I've known men who long for marriage but never found a woman to walk that road with. Some men married late in life because they thought they needed to sit on the sidelines. And I don't take those stories lightly. I'm not promising marriage, but I'm saying this. You're not disqualified. Your desire for marriage is not foolish. And you don't have to live under the assumption that your story makes love impossible. We follow a God who invites us to live with hope and open hands, not because we're guaranteed the life we imagine, but because it shapes us into men who can receive the life he has for us. So even if marriage is not guaranteed, hope still matters. It's not wasted. It grows your heart. It deepens your trust. It prepares you to love well, whether that's in marriage, deep brotherhood, or intimacy with God. So here's my challenge for you. When you find yourself saying, am I marriage material? Start asking, how can I show up with love, courage, and authenticity today? Because when you show up like that, you're already enough. You're already on the path to building that kind of life and relationship that you desire. So let me leave you with this verse. For you are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for you to do. Ephesians 2:10. You are his handiwork. You are a masterpiece in progress, and God has good works, good relationships, good purpose, joy prepared for you. Trust him with your desires and keep moving forward in faith. Thanks for spending time with me today. If this episode stirred something in you, send me a message at hello@jasonmeller.com. I would love to hear what part hit home. And if you're ready to go deeper, to walk this journey with men that get it, consider joining my 12-week group coaching program. We talk identity, desire, relationships, intimacy, and living fully alive. Learn more at ownyouridentitynow.com and book a free coaching session to apply. Here's what Mike, an alumni, says. I found Jason's Own Your Identity coaching group to be a safe place to share my story, uncover the origins of my attractions, and give myself permission to make sense of my history and my future. Jason's openness and honesty about his own journey to wholeness helped me realize that I don't have to live like a passive victim. With help from Jason and the guys in my group, I'm now empowered to joyfully pursue my God-given dreams. And finally, I want you to know that you are marriage material. Your automatic attractions don't disqualify you from the life that you truly desire. They don't define you. You are defined by the one who calls you his, and your story is still unfolding. You have got this, and God's got you. I'll talk with you soon.